And we're getting breaking news coming in what can be interpreted as another attempt by the new BCCI regime to attack the cornered ICC chairman Srinivasan. The board is now planning to appoint a financial advisor or hire an independent financial agency to check its finances over the last 2-3 years. The BCCI has seen its coffers deplete over the last 2 years. While a lot of this payment has been made to the IT department, legal expenses have shot up dramatically since the IPL scandal broke out in 2013. A move to check expenses made under Srini's regime is a clear tactic to put further pressure on the former BCCI president, whose ICC chairmanship, as we mentioned, is already under scrutiny. Sources confirmed to Headlines today that this appointment could be made as soon as within a week. Our consulting editor Boria Majumdar and correspondent Rasesh Mandani join us from Kolkata and Mumbai respectively. Boria, why this move suddenly, and will the how soon are we expecting this to become a full-fledged appointment, and will there be a time-bound scrutiny of the finances over the last 2-3 years?
Shivani, this has already gotten the approval of the working committee on Sunday. So it is a reality. What we are reporting here, the appointment of a financial advisor, is already a reality. It got the approval on Sunday. The reason given was they need to check why the BCCI coffers have been depleted by a few hundred crores over the last couple of years. But if you read between the lines, the basic intention is to check all of the transactions that have happened under the Srinivasan regime and then take stock. So that's why the working committee on Sunday has already authorized the president to appoint a financial advisor to try and implement principles of good governance and check into all the financial transactions of the board. To answer your second question, how soon? Very soon. Maybe within a week, if not earlier, because the working committee has already ratified this. They have approved it. They've asked the president to go ahead and make this appointment. So within a week. And what will its role be, and what is the timeline? You asked me that. The timeline will be as quickly as possible, because they want to know. If I know right, the board's FD was about 1,300 crores. It has come down to about 700. 400 crores were about paid to the income tax department. So you're effectively talking about 300 crore rupees. Now that's a huge sum of money spent over the last couple of years. Right. That's why the BCCI wants to check where this spending has happened, appoint this financial advisor and take it forward.
Right. Let me get a clearer idea of the finances we speak about from Rasesh, who tracks the BCCI closely. Rasesh, while there have been setbacks to media rights and other income that the BCCI has had, legal expenses have risen to the extent that nobody could really challenge this move by the current regime. Would you agree?
Yeah, Shivana, it's something that no one would welcome. No cricket watcher would welcome. They would want the cricket to be governed a lot more dutifully by the BCCI. Just to give you a sense, BCCI happens to be the richest cricket board in the world. We all know that. Its gross receipts in the year 2013 came down by about 350 crores. The board tells us a lot of it has to do because of the fact that there were not enough international games that were played in India, which is a fair point. But the fact remains, and the point that Boria was making earlier, that the legal expenses have shot up enormously. In fact, in the past 2 years or so, those expenses have shot up quite a bit. There have been cases that the board has been fighting with the income tax department as well. But as far as since the spot fixing scandals broke out, a number of the goings on within the BCCI has meant this legal expenses have shot up. And because of the gross receipts coming down, the revenue that the players receive, the money that the BCCI earns is because of the brand that the players bring to the table, the likes of Dhoni, Virat Kohli and all of that. Right. Players have received about 38 crores less than what they received in the previous year. So, look at the contrast here, Shivani. While the BCCI is busy fighting legal cases and the legal expenses shoot up, the players receive a lesser sum of the gross receipts that the BCCI comes up. This is a clear case of a need for reform.
Boria, would this just be a scare tactic, a tactic to corner Srinivasan, or is the BCCI current regime serious about putting the financial house in order?
No, I think they are serious, because what the discussion was, and my sources within the working committee, several members actually have confirmed to me that the BCCI expressed a lot of apprehension that if this goes on this way, then at some point in time, the state associations which get a significant share of the money will no longer get it. Because if you see, a few hundred crores coming down in 2 years' time is a huge amount. So while they want to check, and they want to check very diligently exactly what has happened over the last couple of years, make no mistake, that is a clear ploy to put enormous pressure on Srinivasan and to ask a number of questions of him, of the Secretary, then Secretary Sanjay Patel and the entire dispensation. It is also a move to ensure cost cutting, which is why they want to ban and sort of close down all offices and centralize everything in Mumbai.
You know, in a way, Boria, it seems history could repeat itself. There were charges of financial misappropriation on Dalmia, who's now the current president. Will there be action taken against Srinivasan is the big question, if at all something is found to be alright.
Difficult to answer that question, Shivani, because you have to have particular numbers. At this point in time, Srinivasan is so badly cornered that they will, the current dispensation will have a 3/4 majority. But whether or not action, you first have to appoint the financial advisor, check all the finances and check if there has been cases of irregularity, then that happens. But I can also tell you that the CSK undervaluation has shaken the current dispensation big time. After headlines today reported it. In fact, over the next 2 days, today and tomorrow, I think the independent legal advisor will be appointed, and thereafter, so multiple fronts will be opened, and then only can we conjecture if there will be action.
In fact, there is already an all-out attack, it seems, on N. Srinivasan. We're running details of everything that has transpired very shortly over the last 2-3 days, really, since that working committee meeting. Boria, how difficult are times supposed to get for N. Srinivasan? If we look at everything that is happening right now, BCCI office being shifted, you know, the Chennai Super Kings valuation issue, now his ICC chairmanship under threat too. Just shed more light on that issue and how dangerous that can be for Srinivasan.
That's the last thing he has, actually. I mean, if you just go through the Supreme Court order, he's no longer part of TNC actively. He can't be. He is barred from attending any working committee, which is why he could not be present in Calcutta on Sunday. As long as this Chennai transfer is not ratified, Shivani, clearly means what? The conflict of interest remains. And as long as conflict of interest remains, according to the Supreme Court order, Mr. Srinivasan can't attend a single meeting. So the ICC chairmanship is the only position that he has. Now, if that is taken away from him, then he basically becomes toothless. And if you ask me, within the board, working committee on Sunday, except Bharat Raman representing TNCA, his home association, and partly Anirudh Chaudhary, the treasurer, I don't think there were many speaking in favor of Srinivasan in that meeting. So the circle has come a full, thing in the board. In February, Srinivasan was the uncontested czar, but today he is very much isolated and alienated. After Anurag Thakur's missive yesterday, he finds himself really, really isolated within the board.
Let me just take that to Rasesh as well. Rasesh, this letter that was leaked that talked about Anurag Thakur being close to a suspected bookie, widely assumed to be prompted by N. Srinivasan, who's the ICC chairman, it seems to have backfired on his camp, because Anurag has gone on an offensive against Srinivasan now.
Yes, I think, Shivani, if one goes back to the AGM, there was a possibility that Srinivasan would still manage to convince Anurag Thakur to stay in his camp, and Srinivasan would still have the numbers. It's the decision that Anurag Thakur to contest against Srinivasan, managing to win that by a solitary vote. The secretary, the most important position in the BCCI. Since the time Anurag Thakur's taken over, almost all the decisions that the current dispensation have taken have given a sense to Srinivasan that he's being cornered, right from the appointment of the major committees going against Srinivasan's way, the people who lost against Srinivasan being appointed as chairman of committees as important as the marketing committee and the finance committee and all of that. And even in Australia, when Srinivasan and Anurag Thakur met, there weren't any pleasantries exchanged. So the people close to Srinivasan tell us, he hasn't come out and reacted so far on it, but they tell us that he realized that he was being cornered. And we aren't saying it. Anurag Thakur is alleging that Srinivasan is the one who's leaked the letters. Right. There are a number of peculiar happenings which point towards the possibility on that extent. And clearly, this ICC leak is perhaps the last straw. The relations have been completely broken down between the former BCCI President Srinivasan and the BCCI Secretary Anurag Thakur now. And now Anurag coming up with a point-by-point rebuttal of all that is stated in that ICC advisory goes to show that Srinivasan's even more alienated, the point that Boria has been making all along.
Absolutely, an intense struggle, and that would be an understatement, going on in cricket's power corridors. It seems life is coming a full circle, not just for Dalmia, who was once under the scanner for financial embezzlement, and now N. Srinivasan as well.